Wow, I'm here now. I'm sorry about that, guys, earlier. I was supposed to be here earlier. As funny as that is. The power went out. The internet was down. My dog had a toothache. It was all very tragic. We have some incentives coming up. We have... Hang on. If it'll let me pull it up. Alright, we have Frogger 2 Swampy's Revenge. It's at $185 out of 200. That is pretty close. I didn't write what that incentive was down, but y'all been donating to it anyway. Just really quick, that is for watching the cutscenes. So $15 more, and we will watch the cutscenes and Frogger 2 Swampy's Revenge. You know, you want to know why Swampy's getting revenge? Well, the cutscenes will probably tell you. We have Kuririn Squash Cow, which I am not going to tell you what that is. So, you know, Frogger 2, I forgot to tell you what it was, but I'm not telling you what Kuririn Squash is or what its incentive is. That is part of the fun. So if you want to see that secret incentive, that is $30 out of $150, which we can do. We can make that. And then the last incentive that we have for today is Mario Golf Super Rush. Hey, that's my run. Give Buddy treats. So if you want to feed my cat, I will give him treats, and he will eat them on camera. I'm pretty sure. So if you are interested in any of those incentives, you can go to ! donate. We do have great prizes for today. We have a Speed Dog shirt. We have Speed Dog pins. We have a rare pin set from Fangamer. They are an enamel pin set. You can find out more about all of the prizes that we have to win for today at the end of the... Where is it? I forget. Hang on. When is Prize Corner? Prize Corner is at the end of the Mario Golf run. So if you want to get those in, you have some time. And then obviously we have a huge finish for today. We have Super Mario 64, Donkey Kong Country 2, Resident Evil Village, and Resident Evil 3 Remake. That is one hell of a schedule. So, and then also we have our last milestone. Our newest milestone is at $6,000. If we get to $6,000, Team Speed Dogs will do hardcore Minecraft, kind of in the style of the Mario Golf Invitational and the Royal Rumble, which we've been doing, which were previous incentives. Those will be more along the lines of pre-edited content. If you've been enjoying Good Morning Speed Dogs, and I know that you have, that is sort of what we're talking about, pre-edited sort of long play content. So without further ado, I have been told by the intermission to transition to the next host. The next host with the most, it's Xenos. Xenos, take it away.
Whoa. Thank you, CJ. So yeah, welcome to Speed Dogs. We're gonna continue on. We're gonna do some Levelhead here in a few moments. Basically, he already took all my thunder, so there's not really much for me to say. Like, you already heard about all the games coming up, all the incentives, all the everything. So sit tight. We're gonna get on to the next game here in a few moments.
Hello, I hope you're enjoying Speed Doxathon. I'm Zach from Save Data Team, and I'm here to tell you about our channel in this brief intermission. At Save Data Team, we make a lot of stuff, such as video essays breaking down the music in the Legend of Zelda series, to this video essay on the history of world record progression videos, in which I interviewed content creators like the Speed Docs guys themselves to learn how their content gets made. But we also do Let's Plays like our Ace Attorney with an Actual Lawyer series, Lie Like a Dog.
Don't commit perjury!
And even this stream where we played Celeste, but our Twitch chat could kill us at any time.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
You bastard!
So, if anything I said sounds interesting to you, head over to Save Data Team on YouTube and give us a watch. Thanks, and now back to the show.
Со вчерашнего дня село страшно обстреливают. Выстрелы снарядов нас разбудили ночью. И с ужасающим нарастанием они продолжались непрерывно. Мне показалось это вечностью. Мы с родителями прятались в ванной, а когда снаряды начали падать возле моего дома, воспользовавшись 5-минутным затишьем, мы прыгнули в машину и под обстрелами выехали из села.
Yeah. Not really sure what to do about that.
Yeah, it looks like we're good.
Okay, are we good now? Cool. In case anybody didn't hear me, I'm IllegallySam. I'm gonna be, doing the Levelhead all training stages, and, I think we can just go ahead and get started then. So, I'll give a countdown. 3, 2, 1, go. So this is Levelhead. If you've never seen this game before, the best way to describe this game is it's an indie platformer maker game. What that means is it's not dissimilar to like Mario Maker or something similar, so it's a 2D platformer and it focuses on the game having a level editor and user-generated content and everything. You will not be seeing any of that because we're playing through the game's campaign today. But the campaign acts as a good intro to most of the game's mechanics, a lot of the items in the game, so on and so forth. So you'll be seeing a lot of what this game has to offer in a relatively short time. So what you might have noticed, I'm picking up this little box and I'm taking it to the end of every level. That's called the package. That's this game's main mechanic. So, you're GR18, which is the little robot I'm controlling. He's a delivery robot. And everyone knows that the main feature of every delivery system is grabbing a package, reaching your destination, and slamming it down as hard as you can from as high as you can. So what you might have noticed those dots above every goal at the end of every stage. Normally what the game intends for you to do is, you know, go from as high up, and for each dot you collect, that's 300 points. But there's an animation that plays at the end of every level. So what we want to do is actually forgo all points and try to end up as low down on the goal as possible. It saves about a second on every stage to hit the goal from as low as possible versus as high as possible, so that adds up over the course of 90 or so levels. Oops. Something you also might have noticed, I've already done several of them, but this package, it's used for platforming as well as being how you finish every level. So you can jump off the package, you can grab it, all that good stuff, but just grabbing the package and jumping off of that, that's not that interesting. What is interesting is the fact that it doesn't matter where the package is, you can always just jump off of it. So that means in mid-air as well, you can just jump off the package. That's called a super jump. We're going to be doing it numerous times throughout this run. It saves time on many levels. You can skip a lot of parts of these levels because you're essentially just jumping a second time in mid-air, which most of these levels very much were not built with that in mind, because the devs didn't even realize it was possible when they made most of these levels. So as you can see, we can just jump up here. We don't have to do the rest of this level. We can just cut out most of it. That's going to be a recurring theme, is a lot of these levels have skips that you just don't have to do most of the level. Which is a shame, because a lot of these levels are pretty cool. But if I was more worried about that, I'd be doing 100%. But you won't get to see everything this game has to offer, unfortunately, because that's basically impossible to show off in one run. Because, like I said, this is a user-generated content game. This game has a huge focus on that, and yeah, this game has a large community that makes levels still. It's a small game. I'm aware that not everyone has heard of this game, you know. It is an indie game after all, but there is a lot this game has to offer, and you'll get to... Hopefully I can show that off to the best of my ability. So to talk a little more about some of the interesting things about the specific run I'm doing, you may have noticed that I am playing from a completed file today. That is only done in this run. Every other full game speedrun for this game is done from a fresh file. But that is done for this category. We let people start from a completed file because the whole purpose of this run is simply to get through all the levels as fast as possible. And the easiest way to do that is to do it from a completed file, so you don't have to go through all of the animations for unlocking all the levels and everything. You don't have to reset your save file in between every single run, and all that good stuff. In basically every other run, there's a good amount of time that is spent on the map just watching stuff play out. You might notice that there's all these other nodes on the map that are not levels that I am obviously not going into because they're not levels. Those are the game's cutscenes and unlockables, where you unlock icons for your profile, and the cutscenes, which are very good and pretty funny. I would recommend watching them if you ever have the opportunity to play this game, but like I said, unfortunately we will not be watching any of those cutscenes today. Fun fact, though, the main voice actor for this game, who you would hear throughout all the cutscenes, is actually the artist for the game. He also did all the voice acting for it, which is fun. But this level here, we're going to be coming up on our first power-up of the run. Like any good platformer, this game has many power-ups. And this first power-up is the tiptoe. You know, we get to turn to a little green watermelon ninja. So basically, what the tiptoe does is it lets us cling to walls, it lets us cling to ceilings, and that's its main function. It's the wall climb ability, which obviously allows for a lot of very interesting platforming setups and everything, a lot of fun levels, but it is by far probably the power-up that controls the tightest, and as a result, a lot of people like this power-up a lot, because it is just pure platforming. I would say there's no gimmicks, but you can turn to a bush. that does actually have a function. It lets you go through enemies, which you'll see within a few levels, but it's just fun. Why not turn to a bush? It's not something you get to do every day. But something to note is you can just go off the side of the screen, like, as long as you don't go too far outside of the camera's borders, you can just go off the screen and then come back in. And like I said, as long as you don't go too far, you won't die. But what that means is a lot of these levels kind of forget that you can go off screen, and as a result, you can just skip a good chunk of things. That level is not the only one, but it is the first example of it. The package here is capable of stopping all types of bullets and missiles. Because if you're an intergalactic delivery robot and you're delivering intergalactic packages, you have to be able to withstand all sorts of things. This level is a little tricky to do quickly. Yeah, because basically jumping off of these missiles is like jumping off of one-tile platforms that are also moving the entire time. So it's definitely harder than it looks. And it may not even look that easy. These ones are a little bigger, but alright. And then this next level, it's a really fun, really complicated level. The hardest part, the thing I get to do in this level, I get to hold right. That's the level. I hold right. There's not a whole lot of levels like that in this game, for better or for worse, but it is always fun to call them out when they show up. Yeah, now I get to do this level. This level is all about this spring right here, or as this game calls them, sproings. Because a fun thing about this game is, it basically says it's no fun if we just call everything by the easy name. We're gonna have some fun with what we call things. But it's not springs, it's sproings. Those fans that launch you in the air, they're not fans or anything. They're sky wigglers. You know, these fire bars, they're not fire bars, they're Bernie whirlers. And there's just a whole bunch of fun names like that in this game. Basically every item is called something that you would not expect. Like, even in the code, the tiptoe power-up is referred to a few different things, but one of the names it's called is just Ninja. But that's no fun, so they called it the tiptoe instead. Or in very early versions of the game, it's the Eye of Gorble. But that doesn't quite roll off the tongue. But like I mentioned, you can also turn to a bush, and this level is built to showcase that off.
This is a good time for a donation?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so yeah, we I think during the intermission we had a $20 donation from Quill, who says, "GG's to Sai on the race. Thanks for watching Chameleon Race. Chameleon Twist, sorry, everyone. Donation goes to Cow. I need to know what it is. So yeah, definitely donate if you want to see the cow."
All right. Something to note, these little green guys that I was carrying around, well, I killed one and then carried around its shell. They're this game's quote-unquote Koopas, simply because they have shells that you can interact and jump off of. But the most important thing about this in this level is, as you can see, they can hold down switches. And I'm intended to like go all around, collect a box to put on that switch and everything, but by saving one of those shells, I can just skip a whole chunk of this level and press the switch with that. And that is not the last time you'll see that kind of thing. But this level's all about the scrub and the ocula. Those green guys are the scrubs, and the red guys are the ocula. They both drop shells. The only difference is, you know, like Koopas, whether they walk off the edge when they run into it or they don't. But this level is a great level to show off something called item hopping. When you throw an item down in this game, it launches you back up a little bit there, like that. And as a result, if you're able to chain that together, you're just able to cross horizontal distances no matter what's on the ground. And that was actually put in accidentally when they were trying to fix a different piece of game-breaking tech that people found out about, because this game launched in early access before the full launch. So the developers learned about many of the mechanics of this game at the same pace as the players. This level was built to teach that whole jump kick type thing. A kick jump, as it's called, actually. I said it backwards. But yeah, that extra tile of height that throwing an item down gives you is very important on some of these levels, because it lets you hop around corners, reach platforms, stuff that you would not be able to do otherwise. This is just a fun little platform level where you can skip all the platforms. But something else to mention about extra tiles of jump height. You may have noticed after a certain amount of time running on the ground, I go into a different animation with the GR18. And what that is I'm getting sprint, which, as the name implies, makes me go faster. But the most important thing about sprint is not actually the fact that you start going faster, it's actually the fact that it gives you an extra tile of jump height while you have sprint. And that is, like I said, probably the most important part, because it allows you to do tons of platforming that you would not be able to do otherwise. So fun fact about this level, there is a much faster way of getting through this level that is super inconsistent, so I will never go for in-runs, because it involves going up the secret right side of the level, not turning off any of those fire blasters in that little tunnel towards the goal there, and just trying to dodge them all on the way down. It's very fun to do, not if you want to do it consistently. But this level introduces one of the more annoying enemy types, I'd say. The Swoopadoop. It's that little flying dude with the drill for a beak. Yeah, they fly through blocks, fly through everything, and just, if they see you, they try and swoop at you. But thankfully, that doesn't mean they're invincible or anything. We can still exploit them to jump off of them, lure them places to reach platforms we're not supposed to, like right here. And we're supposed to have tiptoe for this level. We do not grab the tiptoe. So we can just super jump up over the top of the map. Because like I said, the edges of the map do not kill you unless you go too far. And the top and the bottom are not excluded from that. Although because of gravity, the bottom is a little harder to exploit, for better or for worse. Right, but this is Crypt of the Watcher. It's, you know, a little dungeon where you have to go through each of the rooms, solve all the puzzles, fun stuff. I actually need this shell, so I need to make sure I don't destroy it. But we're going to skip about like half of the puzzles in this dungeon, because one of the things we can do is just use a shell to press that switch instead of getting the second box. And then, oops. And then using that height that you get from throwing stuff down, we can just go up here early. Do this little puzzle. Because you're supposed to get 2 boxes. Getting those 2 boxes will cause a bunch of platforms to show up so you can get up there normally. But that's no fun. We're going fast. We're not playing this normally. And you also may have noticed that little red thing that's nearby me. That is armor. That armor is very important because in addition to letting you take an extra hit if you take damage, which, you know, extra lives and extra health are always a good lifeline to have, but the most important thing is it lets us damage boost all over the place. So as you can see, I am able to just damage boost off of the fire straight into the goal. And one of the main things with armor in this game is it has knockback. So, you know, it's trying to get you out of danger, get you out of whatever just hit you, away from whatever just hit you, and instead of, you know, worrying about the thing we just got hit by, we use armor to platform and go faster all of the time. A lot of people, you know, they're not a huge fan of that knockback because it's a little janky, but once you know what you're doing with the armor, it is very consistent and will do the same thing every time, which is very nice, actually. Okay, now we have the DK barrel level. Anybody who's ever played Donkey Kong Country is more than aware of things like this. You know, rotating, moving barrels that fire you. Barely missed the timing on that. But, you know, we have the package. We can skip a few things here and there. We don't have to do everything as perfectly intended. This next level coming up, we get to see Slippy Goo in its full glory. Slippy Goo is essentially just ice physics, but with a different coat of paint. A much greener coat of paint. But this level is very infamous because since it's covered in ice physics, essentially, it is very difficult to be able to do anything precise with it. But we are still able to get through it very quickly. And this is one of my favorite levels to run as an IL. In speedruns, it's a little bit more complicated, unfortunately. But the reason I really like this level is because it's the only level in the campaign that allows you to do a very obscure piece of tech that doesn't come up very often. It's called a blaster super jump. Basically, as long as you're moving up and you're able to throw your package, you're able to potentially do a super jump. And that blaster right there, since it fires straight up, if you time it properly, you can super jump out of that animation and allow yourself to move without having to land on the ground. But it is extremely precise, so I don't ever expect to get it in runs. But in an IL where you can try it over and over again, it's a lot of fun. But this level here, we get to see our second power-up of the run. It's called the Zipper. It lets you zip through walls. That's all it does. It's very simple in concept, but it is very, very broken in terms of most levels. Because as you can see, using a super jump and the zipper, we're just able to go up and over this entire map. That skip is actually deceptively difficult, because if you don't time the zips perfectly, you will not be able to make it up there. But the zipper, like I said, since it lets you go through walls, unless the level is constructed out of something called lead, with like lead, the whole purpose of it is to have a wall that you can't zip through, or 4-tile wide walls, because that is how far you can zip. You can absolutely break apart any level that has the zipper. And that will be incredibly apparent in some of these later levels. Because not even the developers of this game are immune to forgetting how some of their own game mechanics work. And this might seem like a simple hold right level, but it's actually really interesting because it turns into a hold left level. That's unheard of. Yeah, that level, again, harder than it looks, because if your timing is slightly off, you will get killed by that Lazumi right there, which is that tire with spikes. This level is actually one of the more difficult levels in the run. Okay. There we go. I didn't mention that right there at the end there. What I did was a ceiling super jump. Basically, it's the same as a normal super jump, but you adjust the trajectory of the package using the ceiling. And so by banking it off of the ceiling, you're able to make super jumps in many more places than you would be able to normally. And it's more situational than a regular super jump, but it's just as useful, if not more useful. Alright, in this level right here, this platform I'm about to land on, you're not supposed to ever be able to land on that platform. That platform is meant to be out of your reach. But by getting Sprint at the start of the level, I'm able to just barely reach it. At this ending, I went for the fast version, but the fast version is difficult, so I'm just gonna play it a little safer this time. Yeah, that level is infamous, specifically for me, because it's one of the levels I've struggled with the most historically, but it's a fun level when you actually are able to pull everything off first try. Because there used to be a much harder version of that level that you had to do, which required using the tiptoe to cling to the ceiling and then throwing the package against the ceiling to land on it and then cling the ceiling, because there is a time limit for how long you can cling the ceiling. And so you had to basically like do 1 or 2 of those without dying every time you had to do that level, which is understandably not easy. But that version of the level is way easier, in addition to being faster, which is nice. We've got our little friend here. Just take him to the goal. Finish it out. And followed up immediately with a very, very annoying and frustrating level. The name of the game for this level is Cycles. As you can see, everything in this level is tied to these clock switches, which means everything is on a cycle. As a result, if you're slightly off with your cycles on this level, you can lose a lot of time. And on top of that, if you die in certain spots in this level, you will also lose a lot of time, in addition to the cycles being very annoying and frustrating. So this level has killed more than one of my runs. But thankfully we got through it pretty painlessly, which I am always more than happy with. But, you know, speaking of things in the speedrunner handbook, we go from cycles to an auto-scroller. So this game, the campaign in this game has 2.5 auto-scrollers. The half auto-scroller would make more sense when we get to it, but something fun about this game, basically every level in this game's campaign was built with a almost identical version of the game's level editor that everybody has access to. Like, the main differences are just like a couple of the campaign exclusive items that you can collect. But as a result, every level was built with basically the same tools that everybody has in this game. And one of those tools is a camera anchor, which means you can path it around, move it, and that's how you make an auto-scroller in this game. You set up the camera, you move it around, and you can just make it do whatever you want. So it's not just auto-scrollers are limited to like going left, right, up, and down. You can make them go absolutely anywhere. You can even make it, you know, motion sickness mode by making it, you know, turn on and off and move all over the place really quickly. If you don't have motion sickness, it's very funny. I imagine it's not fun if you do. But those levels are specifically made to be bad on purpose, so it's not like people are trying to pass those off as anything more than what we colloquially call garbage. But this level, didn't quite get it, but these bombs, they don't hurt you, but they launch you all over the place if you're able to time things properly. So unfortunately I hit one of the enemies, but preferably I would have been launched across the map and been able to go straight to the end. Because almost every item in this game contributes to movement and momentum in some way. Like I mentioned earlier, armor lets you damage boost, and that moves you all over the place. You know, bombs, they move you quickly. All the power-ups are more or less movement-based. So this game has a lot of very fun high-speed movement when the setups allow for it. This is another fun cycle-based level, but we also get some fun damage boosting in there, so it's not all bad. Didn't quite nail that cycle. It's unfortunate. Yeah, because if I go too fast here, I get killed by these things at the bottom. If I go too slow, I get killed by the cromlers moving back and forth. This one is very precarious with the timing. Alright, I got here a little later than usual, so I'm not going to be able to do my normal strat, which includes a damage boost, but that's fine. Just in case you weren't aware of damage boosting, this level teaches you about it. So the whole point of this level is it gives you armor, and then there's moving spikes under you. Just have to deal with them. Thankfully, it's nice and easy. It's a short level, but I mean, I think it's a good introduction to the concept if you were to miss it. like, naturally. But something this game has no shortage of is brawler levels, where you just have to go into the level and kill all of the enemies. This is one of the hardest ones to optimize, because there's 4 mini arenas, essentially, with a ton of enemies in them. And the optimal strat involves not grabbing the armor, so you don't get a safety net if you're doing this level fast. Because getting the armor aggroes enemies that you don't want to aggro. But thankfully that was relatively painless. Alright, and then you might be wondering why I just opened the settings menu. That was not me hitting start by accident or anything. As you move around the map, like on the campaign map, your little spaceship, you know, it's got to travel in between each level. Some of those distances between levels are very long. And by opening the settings menu and closing it, I do what's called a map warp. And what that does is, when you exit the settings menu, your ship will immediately be on whatever level you were traveling to. And for any level that is like more than a second or two apart, it is faster to open the settings menu and close it really quick than it is to watch that full animation. So throughout the run, I can do it a couple of times, and it saves in total about like 4 seconds between all of them. So it's not anything too crazy, but you know, 4 seconds when it's as easy as opening the pause menu is 4 seconds. It is very easy to save. Alright, these next few levels are going to be featuring another enemy that people are not particularly fond of, the Pop Jaw. So as you can see, it locks onto you and just teleports straight to you. The annoying part is when you have to kill them, because you know, they have invulnerability frames whenever they jump, essentially, and teleport to you. But as a result, you know, all of the enemies in this game drop an item when you kill them, if they're the appropriate size. And Popjaws are no exception. And what that means is they drop a Popjaw medallion. That Popjaw medallion lets you teleport. And by just using a Popjaw medallion, we can just cheese this level by teleporting immediately back up when we grab the package. Because normally we'd have to climb back up using the tiptoe. One of the simpler, but still very fun types of skip in this game. At this level right here, we're going to see our next power-up, the third one of the run. It is called the Waylay. And once I get it right here, you'll see what it does. Let's just punch stuff. Like any delivery robot probably wants to do, it wants to punch things sometimes. But what these punches do are, when you're on the ground, it lets you punch horizontally, and when you're in midair, it punches diagonally. And when you have sprint and punch horizontally, you go very, very fast. And so that is one of the fastest forms of movement in the entire game. So whenever I have sprint and I have Waylay, I will be attempting to do that as much as I possibly can. And right here, there is a switch that detects if there's an enemy nearby. There's 2 types of enemy switches. One detects how many enemies you've killed total, and one checks to see if there's an enemy nearby. And that level right there, at the end with that giant Popjaw, it just checks to see if the Popjaw is there. And so we're able to lure it out of the arena and just pretend that we killed it, because the game doesn't know any different. And this is the level that features toe sliders, or conveyors. They're really good for speed when they work for you, but because they change your momentum so much, they are very difficult to manage when you're trying to go really fast. Especially when you're trying to do super jumps off them, but thankfully, that doesn't come up too often. And if you weren't tired of a high-speed Waylay, you're going to get a lot of it in this level. Because we're going to be doing this level not at all as intended. So you can just damage boost through that fire. Grab Waylay by killing this dude. Or we already have Waylay, I mean, we can grab the bomb by killing this dude, that's what I meant to say. Get sprint, and jump. And then, you know, using that bomb, we're able to go around the side of the map, go over the top of the map, more high-speed waylay shenanigans off-screen, and then just grab the package early. And then one more section of high-speed waylay, and we finish the level. That level is, it's very easy to mess up, but it's a lot of fun when you're able to get it properly. And now we get to hear a little song that I will definitely not mess up by speedrunning it. Yeah, because one of the coolest features of this game is that it has an item in the editor called a boombox, and that's what this level features. It allows for very, very complex and really cool custom music. And since that level was made, they added more options that you don't have to have like a box run up against it. You're able to like program them essentially. But people can make some really cool and have made some really cool custom music using that. Like with how one person recreated the entirety of Sonic 1, including all of its music. That's just one example. Alright, now we get to see my favorite item. Absolutely, definitely not being sarcastic, the bumper. Yeah, as you can tell, trying to be precise when it comes to bumpers is less than easy. Thankfully, I don't have to be super precise with it in many levels, but I am not a huge fan of the bumper because of the precision required in order to do stuff quickly with it. I did not want to grab that purple thing. That is called Slurb Juice. As you can tell, it made me slow. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out why I don't want to go slow in a speedrun. But it does make a lot of sections easier if you're playing the game casually. So it's not like the worst item in the world, but when you're trying to go fast, it is definitely not something you want to be picking up. This is one of those levels where I'm not entirely convinced they remembered Zipper can do stuff when they gave it to you on this level, because you're supposed to go around, like, removing all the hard lights, but you can just skip most of that and just grab the package immediately. And followed by yet another level where the Zipper lets you cheese the entire level. As the name implies, Battery Gauntlet wants you to go around collecting batteries, depositing them, but we don't need to do that. We needed that first battery, and we do not need a single other battery in this level. Because after this short brawler section, we're going to be grabbing Zipper. And this level lets you grab Zipper and doesn't keep you from going off the side of the stage. So you can just go straight to the goal. Right, hardest level in the game coming up. That's the whole level. I like that level. Has a soft spot in my heart because the IL is just silly to grind. Because it's, you know, 3.5 seconds long when done optimally. And that was the first IL I was able to take the record on. Yeah, one of the interesting things is, like I mentioned, getting the minimum dunk is optimal in every level that you're able to do it in. But there's a lot of levels where it is still faster to get the maximum dunk, depending on how you approach the goal. That's because if you throw the package down, you know, trying to get to the bottom of the goal, you know, it kicks you up and that loses you time. But it's also a factor of if the package is not basically on top of you, when you're at the bottom of the goal, you have to wait for the grabber to retract. And so you don't finish the goal until the game considers the package grabbed, and that doesn't happen until the grabber fully retracts. And so the only levels where it's worthwhile doing is levels where you can get the package to the bottom of the goal before you are at the bottom of the goal. And that's because you're able to hit a wall with the grabber, which causes it to instantly retract fully. And so if you're on top of the package and you grab straight into the ground, it just instantly finishes the level, as opposed to having to wait for it to finish grabbing the package.
Good time for a donation.
Yeah.
So we had a $10 donation from Intuition with the message that says, "Beat up the last plop."
Intuition is one of the other top speedrunners for this game. Good to see him here. Alright, this next level is an infamous one, both casually and as a speedrunner. Because it's a vertical level full of moving platforms that you have to platform on. And as a result, you know, any mistake, you fall down, you gotta climb back up. And it's not just bad enough that you have to go up and reach the end of the level. You'll have to go up, back down, and then up again. So you have ample opportunity to mess stuff up. Which is why, like, until you practice and learn this level as a speedrunner, it's definitely one of the hardest levels to do quickly. But thankfully, I was able to get that one cycle at the beginning and grab the box right away, which saved a lot of time. Shoot. Stop the timing there. So, like I said, definitely not an easy level. But once you know what you're doing, it's far from the worst thing in the world. But yeah, one tile platforms with sprint. Yeah, that's never easy. And that's what that ending entails. But if you thought a vertical level with a bunch of moving platforms was bad, let's try a horizontal one where you die if you fall at any point. And not only that, try a horizontal one where there's basically no checkpoints. There's one checkpoint all the way on the other side of the map, and that is the only checkpoint on this entire level. Oh, come on. So yeah, if you couldn't tell, I dislike this level a lot more than the previous one. Simply because it's a lot harder to do quickly. If you take this level safe, it's not that bad because, you know, you're going slowly, you're able to carefully time every single one of your jumps. But once you try and do things quickly, that's when things can very quickly go off the rails. Yeah, doing the second half with sprint. Like I said, one tile platforms while you're trying to maintain sprint the entire time. It's not easy. Right. But if you can, you know, maintain your momentum, go quickly, it's very fun. Alright, this level, you know, it's a minute-long level. It's got a whole lot of obstacles, and we're going to be seeing none of them. Because we're able to just damage boost up over the map. So Bernie Whirlers, or the fire bars, those are a little weird when it comes to damage boosting and how they interact with armor. And as a result, they launch you way farther than they have any right to, essentially. And as a result, if you combine that with sprint and jumping at the start of that level, you're able to just fly over the top of the map, which is very unintuitive, but it's a lot of fun once you get to the hang of it. And it's definitely one of my favorite skips in the game. Right, these little yellow things, they're called flingos. When you grab them, they make you go fast. So essentially, you know, they work kind of the opposite of how you would expect, which is the further you grab them, the faster they launch you in the opposite direction. And if you were able to grab one while you're on the ground, it instantly gives you sprint. Which I use a couple times in that level. We're gonna have a few flingo levels where we're gonna get to see them in action a whole lot. The flingos are, again, one of those items that let you get to incredibly high speeds very easily, but only in very specific circumstances. This level is all about using those flingos, getting to the four corners of the map, and hitting these four switches. But we're able to skip some of that, just a little bit. I didn't mean to do that. Okay. don't want to launch back to the right until I hit that switch, and I accidentally did it a little early there. It's fine though. Yeah, these floating blue guys, those are a lot plush. They're definitely not the most dangerous enemy out there. Some people believe they're the most evil thing in the world, but for the most part, they're pretty docile. They don't lock onto you or anything, they just follow their set path. But that doesn't mean, you know, hitting them won't kill you if you're not careful. But this level here, it introduces the flip whip, you know. It's a little enemy that gets close to you and it tries to lick you. And everyone knows that robots are deathly allergic to being licked. If you've never tried it, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not good for them. But yeah, they attack by trying to lick you, and once you understand their patterns, they're like most enemies in this game. They're not that bad once you know their patterns, but until you do, they are very dangerous because they get those invulnerability frames. This is another one of those levels where, casually, some people consider this the hardest level in the campaign. And with a name like Nope Cart, it's a little understandable that it's not going to be easy. It's a moving platform where you have to, you know, use a flingo to move around and avoid all the obstacles and stuff. It's definitely not an easy level. But we can, you know, trick these cannons just a little bit, and by jumping over their trigger zone, we're able to just have this last section be incredibly safe. Now we get to do a little code level. We gotta, you know, go around, explore the level, figure out what that code could possibly be. But the code never changes, so we're able to just, do that and instantly finish the level without doing any of the extra side content. This level's got a fun little gimmick. You gotta, you know, drop the enemies into that little bin down below. And if you don't know a good pattern to drop these enemies in, this level is actually really difficult, and I already messed up the pattern. So yeah, now I get to wing it just a little bit. Yeah, because this last one here is just unfair because it has those bumpers in addition to the toe sliders on the end and everything. So if you're just slightly off, the enemy will go flying off the ledge and you have to try again. But thankfully that wasn't too bad. Yeah, this level here, it introduces... it's not quite like the armor, because, you know, it's temporary, but it introduces the electro shield, and what that does is... it essentially is one of the two invincibility power-ups in this game. This is the invincibility power-up that lets you instantly kill enemies when you touch them. The other one is the D-Bot. I forget at this point if it has shown up already, but it definitely shows up very soon if it hasn't. But that one lets you platform all over obstacles without taking damage, so one is more enemy-focused and one is more environmental hazard-focused. This level's all about trying to just take those batteries back to the start, but it's tons of things in your way that don't kill you, they just make you slow. Those cannons will shoot you back to the start, the rifts will teleport you back. At the end you get some nice catharsis of just getting to run over a whole bunch of enemies with Electro Shield. Oops, I thought I grabbed the back stake. The back stake disappeared like half a second before I grabbed the package. Okay. Here we have yet another enemy gimmick level. You know, it's got tons of enemies. It's going to be giving me Electro Shield and everything like that all over the place. But if I kill a single enemy at all in this level, it kills me instantly. That was definitely intended for demonstration purposes. That was not an accident, I swear. But yeah, this whole level is centered around getting through it without killing any enemies, while having to platform around those enemies. And it even uses the mechanic of the scrubs and oculas, as they take damage, they get smaller. So you gotta make this guy smaller to get him through that gap. I damaged him just the tiniest bit too late, so I gotta push him through. Not gonna walk through himself very quickly. After that, we get to see the next power-up of the run. It's called the Ripcord. So what the Ripcord is, it's this game's jetpack type power-up. So you have a limited amount of fuel, but if you hold the jump button in midair, it just launches you straight up. And if you hold the power-up button, you get to have this little hover mechanic instead. That doesn't have a cooldown or anything like that. You can hover as much as you want. But the fact that you need to land to recharge is very important. Because what I just did there is a pixel jump. And I did it to recharge my my Ripcord boost in a spot where I normally wouldn't be able to. So pixel jump hazards in this game are not a full tile, and so you're able to land next to them, essentially. Let's see if I can get this. I want to give this a serious attempt. This is the hardest skip in the game if I can get it. I probably won't, but I want to give it an honest attempt. Nope, okay. So what I was trying to do there was essentially go under the map. Going under the map is almost impossible in most cases because, you know, gravity exists and there's a kill zone under the map. And so there's about like a tile of safe space where if you go under the map, you can still survive. But using the Ripcord, you're able to just barely dip under the map, and in that case, dip under that divider in the center of the map, and just go under the map and then pop back up without dying. It is incredibly precise. I don't know like how tight it is of a trick, but it's, like I said, it's the hardest trick I go for in the entire run. And so like I've only gotten it like maybe 10 times in runs total out of the probably like 80 or 90 times I've gotten there in runs between all the different categories. So it's like, that might not seem like a super low amount of, like as far as speedrunning tricks, you know, an above 10% chance of getting it isn't the worst odds in the world. But if you account for the fact that almost nobody else has gotten in a run outside of me, it suddenly looks a lot harder. And I'm not even like phenomenal at the trick, I'm just able to get it slightly more consistently than most other people.
I have another donation if you're good.
Yep, go for it.
So we have a $20 donation from Luai, who says, all levels run hype, follow Noob Jr.
Yep, Luai is one of the many members of this community who makes levels and streams the game and everything. Noob Jr. is the one I mentioned earlier that made like all of those recreation of Sonic 1 among many other levels. You know, top creator, so we just him all the time, telling everybody to follow him. Because you should go follow Noob Jr. But yeah, the origin of that is he put it in one of his levels to follow himself as a joke, and everybody just ran with it. And now everybody puts it in their levels as a joke. It's basically like the Easter egg of the community, where it's like if somebody makes a level, there's like a 30% chance somebody hit follow Noob Jr. in a level. And so it's always fun to see if you can find it in those kinds of levels. Because like every community, there's a inside joke or two. This level is all about bombs. Shoot, stuff. Okay. So, I meant to grab that key, because you're able to grab it early and not actually have to do the bomb puzzle here. There we go. The one-tile gaps in this game are infamously difficult to deal with, both in terms of platforming and throwing stuff. But it's one of those things where with practice you can get better at them. Like things in life, but yeah, one-tile gaps are just very, very precise to be able to get on your first attempt. this level's a fun one. This one plays with the fact that, like, these spike chainers have, like, this block that you can land on. And you're supposed to ride these platforms around and, like, dodge a whole bunch of obstacles, but we can just use momentum to skip the whole thing. That level's a lot of fun to do, the IL of, because there's an even faster version of that ending that it involves using the package to kick yourself up and then re-grabbing it immediately. But because of the high speeds, it is very difficult to do, so I do not ever go for it in runs. Yeah, this level is focused on these cannons that fire these explosive rounds. They don't hurt you, but they do hurt enemies and push things around because of the explosions. So we gotta lure those cannons into shooting things that we want them to shoot. So here we're destroying a whole bunch of blocks. This level is infamously not my favorite because that one part where you have to lure them to hit a couple of the enemies, if the enemies don't cooperate, you can spend 20-30 seconds on that section. Right, now we have the level in the campaign with the best name, Grand Theft Grotto. It's worth mentioning that this game, it doesn't have like a free naming system for its levels, and so the devs included are required to name their levels using the in-game system called the Combobulator. So basically it gives you 4 slots with a whole bunch of preset words, and you're able to just mix and match them to make whatever kind of level name you want. The most fun thing to do with it is just get a whole bunch of random words and make a semi-coherent level title out of it. Because that is infinitely more fun than trying to think of a level name yourself, even with a free naming system. These bouncy guys, you've seen them numerous times throughout the run, but they are not my favorite enemy. Because those bounces are extremely unpredictable. And we're just dropping down. We skip any power-up that is not necessary. We try and skip because it does have that 1-second animation that plays when you pick it up. So if we don't need a power-up, grabbing one is just a waste of time, so skipping them is always faster as long as, you know, the platforming is still reasonable without it. Like, this level is technically possible without the power-up, but it is slower and more difficult, so this is not a case where it's worthwhile doing. It just requires so many super jumps. But this is also the last power-up that you will see in this run. It is called the Rebound, as is alluded to in the title. Basically, you shoot those little orbs. Those orbs are actually your face. You're shooting your face, but those orbs, they bounce around, they damage enemies, you're able to bounce off of them for platforming, they're able to hit switches and everything. But the most important thing is, it launches you back when you shoot, hence the name Rebound. And so that is very important for platforming. You only get 2 shots at a time, and it has that little, like, animation with the little white marks above GR18's head when it recharges. But the thing to note about that is it starts the timer for recharging the next set of shots after the first shot, not the second shot. And so it's possible to time things so that you essentially get 3 shots in a row. Dang it. Okay. And so if you were, there's not a ton of spots in any percent where that's useful, but in 100% that comes up several times in these last few levels. These are the last 3 levels coming up here. I will mention time does stop after I hit the goal on the final level. I'll obviously call it out when that happens, but that is coming up very soon. But this is the last auto-scroll of the run. I didn't call it the half auto-scroller, but if you missed it, half of the level was an auto-scroll and half the level was free cam, which is why it's half of an auto-scroller. But with the last auto-scroller run, we naturally come to the only way you could end the campaign, the second to final level. It's a troll level. You're not going to be seeing most of the trolls because they are very skippable once you know where they are, but as the second to last level of the campaign, it is a very good troll level in my opinion. It's got a lot of good trolls, it shows you what went wrong, and it's a lot of fun to speedrun as well. Because you've probably already noticed several fake outs that if you weren't used to this level would probably, you know, give you a mini heart attack if you're not sure what's going on. But with that, we're coming to the final level of the run. So this last level, it's kind of like a final hurrah. It's the culmination of everything they've taught you. It's the culmination of everything the developers learned during this game's development. You know, it has a section for every power-up. It has a whole bunch of different items in it. But in true Levelhead fashion, that doesn't mean we don't get to cheese it. We get to skip the entire tiptoe section using that super jump. Get to, you know, do several other skips, as you'll see shortly, but we do have to play through about half of the level normally, which is, you know, still a lot. But, you know, the Ripcord gets a little platforming section, Waylay gets a brawler. The Rebound will also get a brawler, but a very different kind of brawler. But first we get to do a shell jump. I didn't mention that earlier, but if you throw the shell while up against a wall, you get to do a shell jump, and it's essentially just, you know, you get to do extra, you get extra height by doing it. By firing out those shots before the enemies spawn, we're able to just kill most of them instantly. Finally, we get the zipper, and in true Levelhead fashion, we get to finish the final level with some zipper cheese. I was trying to be fancy at the end there and do something. Just trying to follow through on what Intu said and kill this little blop friend, and that's time. So yeah, that's the entire run. Hopefully you enjoyed getting to see this game that not enough people know about, in my opinion. In addition to being a really cool speedrun and, you know, having a lot of really fun tech and everything, it's also a really good casual game because it has user-generated content. No matter what you want to do with it, you can probably find something to have some fun with, both building yourself and, you know, playing other people's levels. But, you know, shout out to the Levelhead community. I know at least a few of them showed up because they, you know, donated to the cause today. But I want to, you know, thanks for having me. Of course, obviously letting me show off this run, and if you're interested in seeing more of this game, I stream speedruns of this game every week over on my Twitch channel, IllegallySam. If you want to learn more about this game from either a speedrunning side or just a casual side, all the discussion about this game takes place in the developer Butterscotch Shenanigans. They have a Discord server, that's where we gather to talk about both speedrunning and playing this game casually. You know, everybody there is really cool. It's always a fun place to hang out. But yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. Thanks for having me, like I said.
Well, awesome. I think one last note to put out there is just follow Noob Jr.
Yeah, I think that's the real takeaway for today. Follow Noob Jr.
As always, well, thank you so much for that run. We're going to go ahead and send it on over to intermission, and then we'll get that next run going, which is Frogger 2.